Let's be real. For a lot of us, students, researchers, you name it, just the thought of reporting statistics can be super stressful. It feels like this giant, confusing hurdle right at the end of a long research marathon. But what if it didn't have to be like that? What if you could actually look at reporting your results as the best part, the part where you finally get to tell your story? I mean, this quote from a doctoral student just nails it, doesn't it? That feeling of being totally lost in a maze of statistics. If you've ever felt that way, you are definitely not alone. But the great news is there's a way out of that maze, and it's actually pretty straightforward. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why this is so challenging in the first place. Then, we'll get into a really helpful metaphor, a recipe for research that makes the whole process make sense. From there, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty, the grammar of data, how to present your key results, and we'll finish up with a super handy checklist. You know, a lot of the trouble we run into with stats really comes down to two things: anxiety, for one, and just plain confusion from all the weird jargon and what feels like a million different choices. It can be totally overwhelming. So this is the big mindset shift we need to make. This is not just about crunching numbers. Your real job here is to be a storyteller. You've already done all the hard work collecting your data. Now it's time to share what you found in a way that's clear, confident, and honestly, pretty compelling. To help us do that, let's borrow a fantastic idea from the SPSS Survival Manual. Instead of seeing your research as some big, scary statistical problem, let's start thinking about it like a recipe. It's such a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. Your data, those are your raw ingredients. Your statistical analysis, that's the actual cooking. And reporting your results, well, that's like plating the dish. You're presenting your hard work in a way that looks good, makes sense, and is easy for people to digest. And when you look at it this way, the process makes perfect sense, right? Just like in the kitchen, you don't just dump everything in a bowl at once. You follow the steps. You prep your ingredients, your code book. You get your data file set up. You explore the data a bit, and then you do the final analysis. It's a logical flow from raw stuff to a beautiful final dish. Okay, so now that we have our framework, let's get into the specifics. You know how grammar rules help us write clear sentences? Well, a few simple APA-style rules do the exact same thing for reporting our data. Let's kick things off with one of the most common questions out there. It might seem like a really small detail, but trust me, getting this right instantly makes your work look more professional and way easier to read. And here's the beautifully simple answer. For your descriptive stats, the numbers that just summarize your data, like means and standard deviations, stick to one decimal place. For your inferential stats, the tests where you're drawing conclusions, like correlations or t-tests, use 2. The whole point is to be precise without cluttering up the page and confusing your reader. All right, next up, another classic point of confusion. Sometimes you see a number written as 0.25, and other times it's just 0.25. What's the deal with that? The logic behind this one is actually super simple. If a statistic could be bigger than 1, like an F value, for example, you use the leading 0. But if it can never be bigger than 1, like a p-value, which is a probability, or a correlation, you leave that 0 off. That's it. Simple, right? And here's another quick but important one. When you're reporting the actual number, use the italicized symbol, like a capital M for the mean. But if you're just talking about the idea of the mean in your sentence, just write out the word. It really helps keep your writing clean and easy to follow. So the big takeaway from all these little rules is this. They're not just there to be annoying. Every single one is designed to help you tell your data's story as clearly and precisely as you possibly can. Okay, so let's build on that. We're going to move from just formatting numbers to actually crafting full sentences that tell the story of what you found. This is where we really start plating the dish. So say you're reporting a simple comparison between two groups with a t-test. You just need to include 3 key ingredients: the t-value itself, the degrees of freedom, which is basically related to your sample size, and, of course, the p-value. Those are the essential facts your reader needs. And here's what it looks like when you put it all together. This one sentence is amazing. It tells the story. Reaction times were faster, and then it immediately gives all the statistical proof in this neat, standardized, compact little package. It's so elegant and efficient. And guess what? The exact same logic applies when you're reporting a relationship between two things using a correlation. The ingredients are a little different, but the goal is exactly the same. Give the key info clearly and without any extra fluff. And here we go again. You see it in action. You start with the story, we found a strong correlation, and then you back it up with the evidence, all wrapped up neatly. It's a perfect example of clear, evidence-based storytelling. But what if you have a ton of data? Well, the best storytellers always choose the right tool for the job. The APA gives us this great little guide. If you only have a few numbers, a sentence is fine. If you have a moderate amount, put them in a table. And if you've got a lot of data points, a figure or a graph is almost always the clearest and most powerful way to tell that story. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's pull it all together with one final checklist that'll take you from that feeling of fear to reporting your findings with some real finesse. Think of this as your final once-over. For every single hypothesis test you report, just make sure you've included these 4 key things: the test statistic, the degrees of freedom, the exact p-value, and, importantly, the effect size. That tells your reader how meaningful or important your finding really is. If you hit these 4 points, your reader has the complete picture. And that's really what this all boils down to. This isn't about memorizing a bunch of random rules. It's about having the right tools to be a clear communicator and an honest storyteller with the data you worked so hard to collect. So the next time you're sitting there with your output file, instead of feeling that sense of dread, I want you to ask yourself this question. You've got the recipe, you know the grammar, you know how to plate the dish. So, what amazing story is your data just waiting to tell?